right, so let's go ahead and continue on with this video series. So, in the first couple of videos, you heard me read the Cardi B lawsuit against Tasha K. Cardi B is suing Tasha K for defamation of character, false light, invasion of privacy, and a lot of other stuff. Basically, Cardi B is coming after those two for dragging her name in the mud and trying to make it look bad. So, as we continue on with the lawsuit, I think the lawsuit was actually filed on March 21st, 2019. So, on March 22nd, 2019, what happens is a summons is basically served up. And the summons is for Star Marie Jones and Tasha K. Here's a quick look at those summons right here. If you ever gone to court, you know what a summons looks like. You know what it means when those people are after you. They trying to get you in the court. They trying to get you served so they can get you into that arena so they can extract some money out of you, right? So these are the summonses, or those were the summonses. From there, something strange happens, and they do something called a certificate of interested persons. I'm not really sure what this is. This is the first time I've ever seen this. I can tell you what I believe it is. I believe it's what the court requires for the parties to show that they have their ducks in a row. So the certificate of interested persons, in my opinion, now I haven't really done any research on this. It doesn't really seem like it's something interesting to do research on. I'll leave it up to YouTube community. The YouTube community can do this research for me. What the hell is a certificate of interest in persons? To me, honestly, it just looks like the court wants them to have their ducks in a row, and they want them to go out, do the research, figure out who all the parties in the case are, and report that in a lawsuit, so that if the lawsuit moves forward, they're 100% sure that they have all the people involved, instead of litigating this thing and then getting down the road and finding out that you forgot to include a person. That's what I think it is. You let me know if you think different. Questions, comments below, right? So from there, a lot of other boring stuff happens. I think one of the things that happens is that Tasha K gets a return on service for Cardi B, or Cardi B gets a return on service from Tasha K. Basically, a processor server goes out and serves Tasha K, and she brings that service back to court to report that, hey, I found Tasha K. Here's my affidavit. She's been served. I would show that to you here, but it's really going to be boring. It's not really worth looking at, so I'm not going to show it. And the juicy thing is that basically Tasha K claps back. Tasha K comes back like the Empire Strikes Back. And, so let's just go ahead and get into Tasha K's lawsuit. And I don't know. I mean, Tasha K, it looks like Tasha K could win. Now, honestly, this is still early on in the case. Haven't even really gotten close to where the lawsuit is now. But I just wanted to do this really quick video. Hopefully it comes out to one video. It may come out to a couple of videos. But I'm doing this really quick video to show you what Tasha K basically comes back with. It's pretty interesting. And at this point, I'm thinking Tasha K could get a quick knockout blow. I'll give you a hint. Some of the things that Tasha K points out in her counterclaim is some of the things that I pointed out in the last video series, where I was saying, this lawsuit doesn't look like it's put together well. So let's just go, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into Tasha K's lawsuit. All right, so I have Tasha K's answer to Cardi B's lawsuit, defendant Kebe's answer in affirmative defense to plaintiff's complaint and counterclaim for slander. And in my opinion, Tasha K is not about to take this laying down. And she's basically trying to come back hard with a counterclaim. So the first defense she lays down is that she says that the plaintiff complaint fails to state a claim upon which relief can be granted, and therefore the same should be dismissed. Now, this is something I actually tried to point out in the first video, the first couple of videos. I'm not sure which one in the series I point this out, but I saw that her claim didn't really provide any law or statute that allows the court to grant her relief. So if you don't know what this is, there's two portions to a lawsuit. There's probably many portions, but there's two basic elements, if you will, to a lawsuit. One, you have to tell the facts or the story. And of course, you're going to tell your perspective of the facts, and then the other party is going to tell their perspective of the facts. But those facts have to reasonably be in the same realm. You can't have a totally different story than one person than the other party. Otherwise, the judge is probably going to look at you like you're lying, and they're probably going to try to figure out who's lying, and they're probably going to punish the person that's lying, right? So you want to tell the facts, but the facts are going to be told from your perspective. And at the end of that, the judge is going to merge the two statement of facts, and he's going to come up to a conclusion of what he think actually happened. That's my opinion. I'm not sure if he actually does that, but that's what I would imagine. So the other part of the claim is that you have to state some type of law. Either it's going to be in common law or it's going to be a statute. You have to state some type of law that's going to allow the judge or the court to grant you relief. If you don't do that, then your case can be dismissed. So to give you an example, if you get in an argument with somebody and they call you an idiot, they call you a moron, they call you stupid, they say that you fell on your head when you were a baby, you can't go and sue for that. There's no law that says a person can't call you an idiot. There's no law that says a person can't disrespect you. There's no law for that, right? At least that I know of. So if you try to sue somebody for calling you an idiot, then they're going to be able to get your case dismissed on essentially this first element, failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. So when you look at Cardi B's lawsuit, and if you go back and look at that video series, somewhere, I think maybe the third or fourth video, I'm like, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. And trust me, if I'm catching you on your lawsuit, you got a problem, because I didn't go to law school. I'm not a lawyer. So if I can see it, then obviously a lawyer who went to law school, who's trained and who has experience, they're going to catch that in a heartbeat. So this is one of the claims that Tasha K is making, and I think she is basically right on this, because when you look at the facts in Cardi B's lawsuit, the facts are very detailed and the facts are very good. But when you look at the actual counts, when you read through the counts, there's nothing in the counts that's going to allow the court to give Cardi B relief. And I'm actually kind of surprised that Cardi B hired somebody that would do something like this. My opinion of Cardi B is that Cardi B is loaded. Cardi B has lots of money. And because Cardi B is loaded and Cardi B has lots of money, Cardi B is going to go out and buy and get the best lawyer. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Cardi B is just trying to save money, and she went and got a rinky-dink lawyer, and he typed up a nonsense lawsuit, a BS lawsuit. That's what I really want to say. He typed up a garbage lawsuit. So I don't know if she had an uncle or a cousin type this lawsuit up who probably doesn't even have a law degree. I don't know who typed this lawsuit up, but the lawsuit is bad. So the first claim that Tasha K makes basically is going to be solid, in my personal opinion, right? And then the second defense, plaintiff's complaint fails to plead each essential element for a viable claim of slander per se under the Georgia law, and therefore the same should be dismissed. So what I take that to mean is that when you look at the law, and when you look at or you look at common law or you look at a statute, it's actually going to tell you what you need in order to state a claim. Like, I could go and look at the slander statute, but I'm not going to. And I'm just going to sum it up what they mean by this. Basically, some laws or statutes will tell you in order for a plaintiff to succeed for such a claim, they have to allege element one and element 2, 3, 4, and 5. It may not have all those elements, but it may have at least one or two elements that your facts have to match up against in order to plead each essential element in the actual law. So if I can give you an example, let's talk about fraud, right? This is an easy one, right? So in Illinois, right, and it's different wherever you from state to state. So in Illinois, if you want to claim fraud, a person defrauded you, you have to, number one, you have to claim that the person made a false statement, and number two, you have to show that you relied on that statement. So those are two essential elements that you have to state in your claim in order to prove that a person committed fraud. So whatever it is for the Georgia statute or the Georgia law for slander, basically they're saying that they didn't do it, right? So just moving on really quick, I'm gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible. I may try to skip some of this. The the plaintiff's complaint failed to plead each essential element for a viable claim of slander. We went through that. Viable claim for what's the other one? Plead. The plaintiff's complaint failed to plead each essential element for a viable claim of libel per se. We we went to that. So all these essential elements, we essentially understand what those are: privacy, slander, defamation of character. She didn't plead all the elements. And then the plaintiff's complaint fails to specifically plead and make prayer for attorney's fees. Apparently, there's a way you have to ask for attorney fees. They're saying they didn't do that. And then the plaintiff complaint fails to specifically pray for punitive damages. So apparently there's a way you ask for punitive damages, and they're saying they didn't do that. So this is a chess game at this point. This is a freaking chess game. You go to court, you state all your claims, and then they get to try to get your case dismissed for several reasons. Right? They try to get your case dismissed for several reasons. And actually, so let's actually take a shift. Let's shift off to the rules of civil procedure for a second here. So if I could click. So right before me, I have the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, right? And under Rule 12B, it basically tells you how to present a defense. So one of the funny things I found about law is that a lot of times they'll tell you what you need to do in order to do what you want to get done. Did I say that right? They'll tell you what you need to do in order to accomplish your goal. Let me say it that way. A lot of times in law, the rules and the statutes and the common law, they'll tell you what you need in order to accomplish your goal, right? So in Tasha K's case, basically how to present a defense, it basically tells you every defense to a claim for relief and any pleading must be asserted in the response of pleading if one is required, but a party may assert the following defenses in a motion, right? Lack of subject matter jurisdiction. We're not going to get into this in this video. We'll get into it in another video. Lack of personal jurisdiction. Again, we're not going to get into that, right? But I'll just say briefly, subject matter jurisdiction basically mean a court is able to hear this type of claim. Lack of personal jurisdiction, you've been served. Improper venue, which is also a form of jurisdiction. Basically, this court hears these type of cases, but you're in the wrong. You're in the right court, the right type of court, but in the wrong place, right? So that's what improper venue is, right? So insufficient process, and that's actually funny because that's actually a part of personal jurisdiction. I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, they're saying you were probably served, but you didn't use the right process to serve that person. And then the insufficient service of process. Oh God, I guess I'm getting these mixed up. So we're gonna skip these. I'll have to do more research on these. These two took me by surprise. They appear to be the same thing, but you know what? Lack of for simplicity, we're going to skip these. But I think this all has to do with how you were served. We will get into these in another video. Maybe I'll do a video series where I charge and we'll talk about lack of subject matter jurisdiction, lack of personal jurisdiction, venue, insufficient process, insufficient service of process, because these are all different types of ways that you can defend yourself against a lawsuit, and you can get a person's lawsuit dismissed because they violated one of these principles, right? So we're not going to get into all of this right now. What we're actually going to get into, which we've already gotten into, is failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. And that particular that particular element is what we've discussed. And there's actually one more: failure to join a party under Rule 119. And I think that's going to go back to the certificate of interested persons. I believe, someone correct me, I don't know for sure, but basically, if it looks like here, if you don't have all the parties in the lawsuit, then they can try to move to get your lawsuit dismissed, right? So, to be honest with you, I don't think a judge is going to dismiss a lawsuit for 6 and 7. They're more than likely going to give you a chance to correct 6 and 7. You can either rewrite the lawsuit, or you can go ahead and try to serve that party that you missed. 4 and 5, again, that's probably a really good material to go over. Uh, right now, I thought I knew what they were, but it looks like they're distinctively different. Otherwise, they wouldn't have shown them to be distinctively different. But I know what improper venue is. I know what personal jurisdiction is, and I know what subject matter jurisdiction is. So these are all the ways you can get rid of a lawsuit against you, right? So look out on a video series for that. Leave your questions, comments below if you're interested in how to get rid of a lawsuit against you. And this is some pretty important information. If you want a detailed video on how to get rid of a lawsuit, questions and comments below, because as I've said, this is gold. This stuff is probably going to be worth its weight in gold, right? So let's go ahead and get back to the Cardi B lawsuit.